Welcome to week 4 of Meal Prep Mastery. This week we'll be focusing on lentils and we'll be using 3 different types: tur dal, a type of yellow lentil, red lentils, and pui lentils. We'll make a warming red lentil and pancetta soup, braised pui lentils with Toulouse sausages, and a Sri Lankan style dal with some chapatis. To start, wash the tur dal under cold running tap water for 3 to 4 minutes. Giving it a stir now and again until the water is clear. I use a sieve on the top to prevent the lentils from spilling over into the sink. Meanwhile, cook your sausages in a little butter over a very low heat in a frying pan, turning occasionally for about half an hour or until nicely caramelised and cooked through. You can put them under a grill or bake them in the oven if you prefer, but I think sausages always turn out better when fried. When the tur dal is washed, drain and then cover with about 2 inches of cold water and add a peeled and crushed clove of garlic, a teaspoon of turmeric, around 5 curry leaves, a good pinch of salt, and a dried red chilli. Place on the stove and bring to the boil and then simmer for about 45 minutes until cooked. While the sausages are cooking and your tur dal is on the go, get the veg prep done. Dice 1 onion and set aside for the tur dal. Then finely dice the remaining 2 onions, 2 sticks of celery, and 2 carrots. Place all the finely diced veg in a pot and saute in a little butter over a medium to low heat until nearly soft and sweet. In another pan, add the pancetta or bacon lardons and on a low to medium heat, render out the fat and cook until starting to crisp. Now, peel 6 cloves of garlic, setting 1 aside for the pui lentils. Mince the remaining 5 and peel and mince the ginger. Then dice a green chilli, depending on how hot you like your dal. Keep an eye on your sausages, and you can check if they're cooked by inserting a skewer and placing it to your bottom lip. When it feels very hot and stings a little, they're done. Set aside on a plate or in your containers and keep the pan you cooked them in on the stove. When the vegetables are almost ready, add half to the frying pan you cooked the sausages in, and when the pancetta is ready, add that to the pot with the remaining veg. Cook for a minute on a low heat and let the flavours from the sausages and the bacon combine with the vegetables. For the pui lentils, or in my case just ordinary green lentils, add a crushed clove of garlic, a bay leaf, and break in the chicken stock cubes if you're using them. I ended up using too much chicken stock, as I assume the pui lentils must absorb much more liquid than the ordinary green ones, and that's why they're so prized. But 1 litre of chicken stock should do you here, or a couple of stock cubes. Place on the stove and add a few sprigs of thyme or some dried mixed herbs instead. Bring to a simmer and cook for about 20 to 25 minutes until they are cooked but still holding their shape. Add a minced clove of garlic to the frying pan and the pot with the vegetables and pancetta and cook the garlic out for a minute or so on a low heat. And add a few sprigs of thyme or a teaspoon of dried herbs to the pot with the vegetables and the pancetta. When the garlic is cooked, set aside the vegetables in the frying pan. We'll add these to the pui lentils when they are ready. For the lentil soup, add a bay leaf and crumble in 3 ham stock cubes. Add half a tin of chopped tomatoes and 1.5 litres of water and bring to a simmer. When simmering, add 250 grams of red lentils and cook for about 20 to 25 minutes until the lentils are cooked through. Keep an eye on your tur dal and when ready take off the heat and in a sieve strain over a bowl or something to keep the cooking liquor. Set the dal and the cooking liquor aside. I'm going to swap pots with my pui lentils as this one is looking just a tad full. Now let's get the chapati dough made. You can use chapati flour if you like, but I could only see it in a 10 kilogram bag, which was a little bit too big for me. I used half a cup each, about 75 grams of plain flour and 75 grams of wholemeal plain flour. Then I added a tablespoon of oil. I just used olive oil. A good pinch of salt, and then added some warm to hot water to form a smooth dough. Added about 100 ml of water. That was maybe a little bit too much. If you need a little bit more water, add it. And if you accidentally use too much like me, then just add a little more flour until it comes together. Now, knead the dough for about 10 minutes until smooth and pretty elastic. There's not as much gluten in this flour as in bread flour, so it's never going to get that elastic, but enough so you can stretch it pretty thin before it breaks is perfect. When ready, Cover with cling film or a damp cloth and set aside for 20 to 25 minutes. While your chapati dough is resting and your pui and red lentils are cooking, get started on the tarka for your dal. Saute the diced onions you set aside earlier in a wide pan, I swap to a wok later on, in a little butter or oil on a medium to low heat until soft and sweet, before adding the green chili and a dried red chili broken in two. Keep an eye on your pui lentils and lentil and pancetta soup. When ready, take the soup off the heat and set aside or portion up. And for the pui lentils, drain, keeping the liquid like you did for the tur dal, and set aside. Turn the heat down in the pan with the onions and chilies, and then add the minced ginger and garlic. Cook out for a minute or two. If it gets a little dry, add a little more butter or oil. Add 2 tablespoons of curry powder, and cook out a little before adding the remaining half tin of chopped tomatoes and the tur dal you set aside earlier. Now, I didn't really want to waste any coconut milk, so I added the whole tin. If you like, you can add half and keep half for something else, and then add some of the reserved cooking liquor. However you decide, bring the heat to high and reduce until the desired consistency. I like it thick, but not stodgy. You can always let it down with a little more of the cooking liquor later on if you like. Now let's get everything finished and portioned up. Chop up some parsley and coriander, setting aside some of the nicer coriander leaves for a garnish. Mix the vegetables back with the pui lentils and then moisten with the reserved cooking stock. Add to your containers and garnish with the parsley before placing your sausages on top. 2 never feels like enough, but 3 is maybe a little too much, but you decide. Add the lentil and pancetta soup to your containers and garnish with the parsley, and when your dal is ready, mix through the chopped coriander and garnish with the leaves. You now have your lentil and pancetta soup, pui lentils with sausages, and your Sri Lankan style dal. Let's get the chapatis done. Split the dough into 6 little balls and then flatten slightly. These don't have to be perfect, mine aren't, so don't worry about it. Place a frying pan over a medium heat, then dust your surface and the flattened dough ball with a little flour. Roll out to a thin circle. Now, to keep it circular, you should take the time to make sure each little ball is perfectly round before flattening it, then roll a little, doing a quarter turn each time. To be honest, it was getting past midnight while I was doing this, and so I rushed this bit a little, but take the time if you like. Basically, you want to roll these as thin as you can, maybe like a millimetre or 2, and keep dusting with flour to stop them from sticking. When one is ready, brush your pan with a little oil. A high smoke point oil would be useful here. Then cook for about 30 seconds on each side until you get that nice char effect. While one is cooking, roll the next one, and repeat until you are done. If you cook them on a lower heat for longer, you end up with a crisp bread, so don't be afraid to cook them quickly, as that's what will keep them soft and pliable. Let them cool and then wrap them in tin foil until you need them. You can also freeze them if you like. Enjoy your meals, and I'll see you next week for our last class.